Chapter 1. The Living World. How wonderful is the living world! The wide range of living type is amazing. The extraordinary habitats in which we find living organisms, be it cold mountains, deciduous forests, oceans, freshwater lakes, deserts, or hot springs, leaves us speechless. The beauty of galloping hordes of the migrating birds, the valley of flowers, or the attracting shark evokes awe and a deep sense of wonder. The ecological conflict and cooperation among members of population and among populations of community, or even the molecular traffic inside a cell, make us deeply reflect on what is indeed is life. This question has two implicit questions with it. The first is technical one and seeks answers to what is living as opposite to the non-living, and the second is a philosophical one and seeks answers to what the purpose of life is. As scientists, we shall not attempt at answering the second questions. We will try to reflect on what is living. Diversity in the living world. If you look around, you will see a large variety of living organisms, be it potted plants, insects, birds, your pets, or other animals and plants. There are also several organisms that you cannot see with your naked eye, but they are all around you. If you were to increase the area that you make observations in, the range of variety of organisms that you see would increases. Obviously, if you were to visit a dense forest, you would probably see a much greater number and kinds of living organisms in it. Each different kind of plant, animals, or organisms that you see represent a species. The number of species that are known and describe a range between 1.7 to 1.8 million. 1.7 to 1.8 million. These refer to biodiversity or the number and types of organisms present on Earth. We should remember here that as we explore new areas and even old ones, new organisms are continuously being identified. As stated earlier, there are millions of plants and animals in the world. We know the plants and animals in our own area by their local names. These local names would vary from place to place. Even within a country, probably you would recognize the confusion that would be created if we did not find a way and means to talk to each other to refer to organisms we are talking about. Hence, there is a need to standardize the naming of living organisms such that particular organisms is known by same name all over the world. This process is called nomenclature. Obviously, nomenclature or naming is only possible when the organism is described correctly and we know to what organisms the name of attached to this identification. In order to facilitate study, number of scientists have established procedures to assign a scientific name to each known organism. This is acceptable to biologists all over the world. For plants, scientific names are based on agreed principles and criteria which are provided in International Code for Botanical Nomenclature ICBN. International Code for Botanical Nomenclature ICBN. You may ask, how are animals named? Animal taxonomists have evolved International Code for Geological Nomenclature. International Code for Geological Nomenclature ICZN. The scientific names ensure that each organism has only one name. Description of any organism should enable the people in any part of the world to arrive at the same name. They also ensure in that such a name has not been used for any other animal organisms. Biologists follow universally accepted principles to provide scientific names to known organisms. Each name has two components, the generic name and the specific epithet. This system of providing a with the two components is called binomial nomenclature. Binomial nomenclature. This naming system given by Carlos Linnaeus is being practiced by biologists all over the world. The naming system using two words format was found convenient. Let us take example of mango to understand the way of providing scientific names better. The scientific name of mango is written as Mangifera indica. Let us see how its binomial name in this name Mangifera represents the genus while indica is particular species or specific epithet. Other universal rules of nomenclature are as follows. Biological names are generally in Latin with and written in its italics. They are Latin or derived from Latin irrespective of their origin. The first word in a biological name represents the genus, while second component denotes the specific epithet. Both the words in a biological name, when handwritten, are separately underlined or printed in italics to indicate their Latin origin. The first word denoting the genus start with a capital letter, while the specific epithet start with a small letter. It can be illustrated with the example of Mangifera indica. Name of other appears after the specific epithet that is at the end of the biological name and is written in an abbreviation form. Example Mangifera indica Lin. It indicates that this species was first described by Linnaeus. Since it is nearly impossible to study all the living organisms, it is necessary to devise some means to make the possible. This process is classification. Classification is the process by which anything is grouped into convenient categories based on some easily observable character. For example, we easily recognize groups such as plants or animals or dogs, cats, or insects. The moment we use any of these terms, we associate certain characters with the organisms in that group. What image do you see when you think of dog? Obviously, each one has will see dogs and not cats. Now, if we are think of Atlanteans, we know what we are talking about. Similarly, suppose we were to say mammals. You would, of course, think of animals with external ears and body hair. Likewise, in plants, if you try to talk of wheat, the picture of each of our minds will be of wheat plants, not or rice or any other plant. Hence, all these dogs, cats, mammals, wheat, rice, plants, animals, etc. are convenient categories we use to study organisms. The scientific terms for these categories is taxa. Here you must recognize that taxa can indicate categories at very different levels. Plants also form a taxa, white wheat is also taxa. Similarly, animals, mammals, dogs are all taxa. But you know that dogs is mammals and mammals are animals. Therefore, animals, mammals, and dogs represent taxa at a different levels. Hence, based on characteristics, all living organisms can be classified into different taxa. This process of classification of taxonomy, external and internal structure, along with structure of cell development, process, and ecological information of organisms are essential and form the basis of modern taxonomic studies. Hence, characterizations, identification, classification, and nomenclature are the processes that are basic to taxonomy. Taxonomy is not something new. Human beings have always been interested in knowledge more and more about the various kinds of organisms, particularly with reference to their own use. In early days, human beings needed to find source for their basic needs of food, clothing, and shelter, since the earliest classification were based on the uses of various organisms. Human beings were since long not only interested in knowing more about different kinds of organisms and their diversities but also the relationships among them. This branch of study was referred to as systematics. The word systematic is derived from the Latin word systema, which means systematic arrangement of organisms. Linnaeus uses Systema Nature as the title of his publication. The scope of systematics was later enlarged to include identification, nomenclature, and classification. Systematics takes into account evolutionary relationship between organisms. 1.2 Taxonomic categories. Classification is not a single step process but involves hierarchy of steps in which each step represents a rank or category. Since the category is a part of overall taxonomic arrangement, it is called taxonomic category and all categories together constitute the taxonomic hierarchy. Each category referred to as a unit of classification, in fact, represent a rank and is commonly termed as taxon. Taxonomic categories and hierarchy can be illustrated by an example. Insect represents a group of organisms sharing common features like three pairs of jointed legs. It means insects are recognizable connective objects which can be classified and thus were given rank or category. Can you name other such groups of organisms? Remember, groups represent category. Category further denotes rank. Each rank or taxon, in fact, represents a unit of classification. These taxonomic groups or categories are distinct biological entities and not merely morphological aggregates. Taxonomical studies of all known organisms have led to development of common categories such as kingdom, phylum or division or plants, class, order, family, genus and species. All organisms, including those in the plant and animal kingdom, have species as the lowest category. Now, the question you may ask is how to place an organisms in various categories. The basic requirement is the knowledge of characters of an individual or group of organisms that helps in identifying similarities and dissimilarities among the individuals of the same kind of organisms as well as of other kinds of organisms. 1.2.1 Species. Taxonomic studies consider a group of individual organisms with the fundamental similarities as a species. One should be able to distinguish one species from of the other closely related species based on the distinct morphological differences. Let us consider Mangifera indica, Solanum tuberosum potato, and Panthera leo lion. All three names, indica, tuberism, and leo, represent the specific epithet, while the first words Mangifera, Solanum, and Panthera are genera and represent another higher level of taxon or category. Each genus may have one or more than one specific epithet representing different organisms but having a morphological similarities. For example, Panthera has another specific epithet called tigris, and Solanum include specific like nigrum and Melongena. Human beings belongs to the species Sapiens, which is grouped in the genus Homo. The scientific name thus for human being is written as a Homo sapiens. 1.2.2 Genus. Genus comprises a group of related species which has more characters in common in the comparison to species of other genera. We can say that genera are aggregates of closely related species. For example, potato and brinjal are two different species but both belonging to the genus Solanum lion, Panthera leo, leopard paradise, and tiger tigris, with several common features, are all species of the genus Panthera. These genus differ from another genus, Felis, which include cats. 1.2.3 Family. The next category, family, has a group of related genera with still less number of similarities as compared to genus and species. Families are characterized on the basis of both vegetative and reproductive features of plant species. Among plants, for example, three different genera Solanum, Pedonera, and Datura are placed in the family Solanaceae. Among animals, for example, genus Panthera comprising lion, tiger, leopard is put along with the genus Felis cat in the family Felidae. Similarly, if you observe the features of a cat and dog, you will find some similarities and some difference as well. They are separated into two different families, Felidae and Canidae, respectively. 1.2.4 Order. We have you seen earlier that categories like species, genus, and families are based on number of similar characters. Generally, order and other higher taxonomic categories are identified based on aggregates of characters. Order being higher category is assembled of families which exhibit a few similar characters. The similar characters are less in number as compared to different genera included in a family. Plant families are like convolutions. Solanaceans are included in the order polynomials mainly based on the floral characters. The animal order Carnivora includes families like Felidae and Canidae. 1.2.5 Class. This category includes related orders, for example, order Primata, comprising monkey, gorilla, and gibbon, is placed in class Mammalia along with order Carnivora that includes animals like tiger, cat, and dog. Class Mammalia has other orders also. Phylum. Classes comprising animals like fishes, amphibians, reptiles, birds, along with mammals, constitute the next higher category called phylum. All these, based on the common features of like presence of notochord and dorsal hollow neural system, are included in phylum Chordata. In case of plants, classes with a few similar characters are assigned to a higher category called division. 1.2.7 Kingdom. All animals belong to the various phyla are assigned to the highest category called kingdom Animalia in the classification of system of animals. The kingdom Plantae, on the other hand, is distinct and comprises all plants from various divisions. Henceforth, we will refer to these two groups as animal and plant kingdoms. The taxonomic categories from The taxonomic categories from species to kingdom have been shown in ascending order starting with species in figure 1.1. These are broad categories. However, taxonomists have also developed subcategories in the hierarchy to facilitate more sound and scientific placement of various taxa. Look at the hierarchy in a figure 1.1. Can you recall the basic of arrangement? Say, for example, as we go higher from species to kingdom, the number of common characteristics goes on decreasing. Lower the taxa, more are characteristics that the members within the taxon share. Higher the category, greater the difficulty of determining the relationship to the other taxa at the same level. Hence, the problem of classifications become more complex. Table 1.1 indicates the taxonomic categories to which some common organisms like housefly, man, mango, and wheat belong to. Species, genus, family, order, class, phylum, division, kingdom. Species, genus, family, order, class, phylum, or division or kingdom. Common name man, biological name Homo sapiens, genus Homo, family Homidae, order Primata, class Mammalia, phylum or division Chordata. Horsefly, common name is housefly, biological name is Mucosa domestica, genus Muxa, family order Diptera, class Insecta, phylum or division Arthropoda. Common name is mango, biological name is Mangifera indica, genus Mangifera, family Ancardiaceae, order Sapinida, Sapinidal, class Dictolodontia, phylum or division Angiospermae. Common name wheat, biological name Triticum astium, genus Triticum, family Poaceae, order Poles, class Monocotyledonea, phylum or division Angiospermae. Summary: the living world is rich in variety. Millions of plants and animals have been identified that described, but a large number of still remains unknown. The very range of organisms in terms of size, color, habitat, physiological and morphological features make us seek defining characteristics of living organisms. In order to facilitate the study of kinds and diversity of organisms, biological have observed evolved certain rules and principles for identification, nomenclature, and classification of organisms. The branch of knowledge dealing with these aspects is referring to as a taxonomy. The taxonomic studies of various species of plants and animals are useful in agriculture, forestry, and industry in general for knowledge of bioresource and diversity. The basis of taxonomy, like identification, naming, and classification of organisms, are universally evolved under international codes based on the resemblance and distinct differences. Each organism is identified and assigned a correct scientific biological name comprising two words as per binomial system of nomenclature. An organism represents occupies a place or position in the system of classification. There are many categories, ranks, and are generally referred to as a taxonomic categories or taxa. All categories constitute a taxonomic hierarchy. Thank you for watching.